For both Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje, pick what you think their strongest weapon is in this fight, right? Their greatest tool they have, if you will, in their tool belt, and also their greatest weakness. So what is something that Paddy or Gaethje does that you think will specifically be, a weak point for their opponent to capitalize? We'll start with Gaethje, talk about Gaethje's weapon and his weakness, and then we'll go to Paddy and do his weapon and weakness. I'll start with what I think is Justin Gaethje's best weapon in this fight, and then you can tell me if you agree or if you want to add anything or change anything. So when Chandler fought Paddy, I feel like one of the biggest problems he had is he wasn't fully committing to his offense. He would kind of go halfway, and Paddy would keep him away from him with a jab or something like that, right? And he was never able to win those exchanges back, right? I mean, when Paddy would hit him with a jab, he never was able to just kind of eat it and then land a shot of his own to sort of even out the scorecard. And that's why Paddy was just able to land so much cumulative damage. But Gaethje is one of those guys who is not afraid to really step into the pocket and trade. Even after he lost to Holloway, when he fought Fiziev the second time, he will go in there and get in those exchanges where you just kind of go, ooh, you know what I mean? You kind of tense up because you're like, oh my gosh, if one of these shots lands, one of those guys could go down. And against Paddy, and this will kind of get into Paddy's weakness a little bit too, I feel like that aspect will really, really help him in this fight. Because the only way Gaethje's going to win this fight is through the stand-up. I don't think grappling Paddy is going to be good for him at all. So that's what I think is Gaethje's best weapon. Just committing when he closes distance.
Yeah, of course. I think his leg kicks will be big too. Paddy, I said this before, we talked about this in the past when you were a little bit higher on Paddy and then I brought up the fact that Paddy's takedown accuracy is 29% and Gaethje's takedown defense is not great, but it's 70%. And I was like, I don't think Paddy will get a takedown in this fight. I think he'll attempt. I think Gaethje loves to clinch and throw uppercuts and stuff, and I think it's kind of a crazy take, but I think Paddy will attempt a flying triangle at some point in this fight if they get clinched up really tight. But as far as like the fight going to the ground where it's Paddy's domain, I think if the fight goes to the ground, it'll be from a knockdown. I don't think it'll be a takedown. And if that happens, I think Gaethje will get the knockdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would say leg kicks to get Paddy off his front foot from Gaethje will be, it's kind of his biggest weapon in every fight, I think, is leg kicks.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Gaethje's leg kicks are such a big part of his game, no matter who he fights. Now, for his weakness, ironically, in a lot of fights, you could see this as one of his strengths. But I think in this fight specifically, it could be a weakness. I think it's clinching. I think Paddy's best way he's going to be able to take Gaethje down, if he tries to shoot like a double leg, no way he finishes that.
No way.
There's no way he finishes that. The only way he's going to finish a takedown on Gaethje, I think, is if they're clinching and he pulls off some kind of throw. Paddy actually has a history of having some pretty good throws, like judo throws. And so why I think that's a weakness for Gaethje is that Gaethje will definitely clinch up in this fight because he's really good. Generally, he's really good in the clinch. His hooks, his uppercuts, it just seems like whenever he clinches up with people, he always gets the better end of the exchange. But against Paddy, I just feel like it might give Paddy an opportunity to land a throw and bring the fight to the ground where it could start to get really hairy for Gaethje.
Yeah, I agree. Paddy's judo is very underrated. I think another weakness, it's kind of a strength and weakness for Gaethje, but it's his willingness to be chaotic. He's been getting better at being more technical the longer his career goes. But it takes me back to his rematch with Fiziev. And it's like, he throws a kick and Fiziev catches it for half a second and Gaethje decides to do a front flip and then gets into a reverse triangle on the ground. It's that crap. Like Gaethje being so spazzy he like takes himself down. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think if Paddy gets any opportunity where he gets a front headlock on Gaethje in like a turtle position, it's a submission is always live. It's always live. So I would say a weakness for me is Gaethje just being just spazzy and maybe the nerves in the first 2 rounds probably of the fight. And it's like, I think the longer the fight goes, the less live a submission will be.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Okay. Let's move over to Paddy. Paddy, his greatest weapon, in my opinion, is his submission attempts. I think Paddy is somebody who really goes for subs, even when it's like, okay, that's maybe a bit of a long shot to attempt a submission there. He goes for it, which in this fight is his best path to victory. I mean, you mentioned flying triangles. He's got a nice guillotine, really good one. I even think he could take the back. I mean, he's really underrated on the ground. His submission game is. So to me, it's obvious that's his best path to victory. So it's got to be his best weapon for me.
Yeah, I don't really have anything more to add. It's just his submission ability has been his strength in every fight he's been in. Like even something like, like the Bobby Green fight. I can totally see that happening.
Yeah.
Like just really like putting it all into a triangle and just getting it early. Like I could see that pretty easily. So
yeah,
I agree. Submission ability.
Okay. And then Paddy's weakness to me is pretty obvious. Is the fact that when he's backing up, he does have his chin in the air a lot. I remember looking back on his fight with Chandler and being really impressed with it. And then I rewatched it recently and I'm a little worried. That with how much he leaves his chin in the air against someone like Gaethje, you can't be doing that. I mean, not against Gaethje. You can't get away with that. So that could be the downfall for him, is what I think.
For sure. He got caught with a lot of like right overhands against Michael Chandler. You know what I mean? And there's different types of power. Like some people think that Michael Chandler has like so much power. He's explosive. But it's like there's 2 different body types. There's like Chandler power and then there's like Gaethje power.
Yeah.
Like, Chandler can get knockdowns, but Gaethje can like flatline people. You know what I mean? It's just a different type of power. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I agree with what you're saying. I think Gaethje's going to have to be a lot more cautious.
So now, the big question. Who, when you look at their different strengths and weaknesses and how they kind of mesh with each other, who do you think wins and why? Be as concise as you can. But who do you think wins and what is their path to victory?
I'm high on Gaethje. It's for what I said earlier about the takedown accuracy and defense. I don't think Paddy will get Gaethje to the ground unless Gaethje brings himself there, which I guess is in the conversation. But I think Gaethje will keep it on the feet. I honestly do. I think Paddy will, try to, be on the feet a little bit. And I think he will very quickly find out that Gaethje can crack. You know what I mean? I know that at some point in this fight, Paddy's going to get cracked.
Yeah.
I know it. It might be a knockdown. He might be wobbled. He's going to get hit really hard. And I don't think he's ever been hit like that.
No.
So I think Gaethje will take it.
It took some convincing, and I think you played a part in that. But at one point I was thinking Paddy, but I have to agree. The fact that Gaethje is as big of an underdog now doesn't make a lot of sense, especially when we saw how good he looked against Fiziev after the Holloway fight. I think the Holloway fight changed everybody's perspective of Gaethje, not just the last, 5 seconds or whatever, but he was getting dominated the entire fight. Now, Max Holloway is one of the best fighters in the entire organization, but I think everybody started to see Gaethje, okay, maybe this is kind of the beginning of the end for him. But he looked really good against Fiziev. He didn't look timid. He looked as good as he always has. And like you said, Paddy's best path to victory in this fight is getting the fight to the ground and beating him there, probably by submission. But how is he going to do that? There's no way he's going to be able to shoot a takedown on Gaethje and finish it. I just don't see it. I mean, obviously it could be wrong. The sport is insanely unpredictable, but Gaethje's takedown defense, when it comes to traditional style takedowns like double legs, single legs, these kinds of things, really hard to finish. Right. I mean, the only way Khabib got him down was because he caught one of his leg kicks. And I guess that's a possibility for Paddy too, but I don't think Paddy's going to be able to finish a shot like that as well as Khabib for obvious reasons. So what are we left with? Well, Paddy's going to have to get him to the ground somehow. Yeah, he can maybe land some kind of throw in a clinch, but that seems to be maybe a little bit of a long shot because Gaethje's just so scrappy. I mean, judo, to land a good throw, a good judo throw, you really have to have control of your opponent's weight. You have to be moving them in the right, off balancing them properly. Otherwise, they just don't work at all. And that's just going to be so hard to do against Gaethje. And when it comes to the stand-up, man, I think Gaethje has the advantage there. So I could very much see, I mean, Paddy does have a really solid chin, but I could see a Gaethje decision. I mean, he's got great cardio too. He can go all 5 rounds. So yeah, I have to agree. I'm gonna pick the underdog here, and I think Justin Gaethje's gonna win this one. And we'll pray for him when he fights Ilya Topuria after that. Because
I do think the leg kicks against Ilya will be definitely his strength when we talk about that, if it happens.
Yeah, he'll need it for sure. Ilya's really heavy on the front foot.
And one thing I want to add for Gaethje before we move on is I think people, when they talk about Gaethje, they always like, oh, he's a marauder and all this blah, blah, blah. And I understand Gaethje he's chaotic and whatnot. But there's 2 types of Gaethje. There's the one that's pre-Holloway and post-Holloway, right? Pre-Holloway Gaethje, we're talking about him when he fought Michael Chandler, him when he fought, Dustin the first time, like 2021 earlier. And then once he got knocked out by Holloway, his last 3 fights have been way more technical and calculated.
Well, what do you mean?
Still
Hold on.
chaotic.
What do you mean knocked out by Holloway? Because that was only 1 fight ago. Or do you just mean like within the last 2 or 3 years? Because he only fought once since he fought Holloway. Right?
Really?
Yeah, he just fought Fiziev.
He fought Fiziev, and did he fight anybody after Fiziev?
I don't think so. He fought Fiziev before he fought Holloway. But before that was
Okay.
Oliveira.
Okay, hold up. Maybe I'll say, maybe when he after he got submitted by Charles. That's what I want to say.
Okay, yeah.
After he got submitted by Charles. And I think since he got submitted by Charles, when he fought Fiziev the first time, he's much more calculated and he's not as chaotic.
Yeah.
I think, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, he was even more calculated against Holloway too. Even though he lost that fight, he was a lot more, he wasn't getting into crazy. And you got to remember, he did drop Max Holloway too. That was the first time Max Holloway had gotten dropped. Yeah. So he wasn't, he had something to show in that fight too. And I agree with you. I think he needs to be technical and just play his game. And it's a very winnable fight for him. I mean, last I checked, he's like, what, plus 200 or something underdog, which is crazy.
Crazy value.
Yeah.
Yeah.